All right, segment 3, we're staying with the NFL, but now we're going back on the field, and we're going to talk about the MVP race. Cedric, we had an unbelievable Monday night game. Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, 49ers. I mean, it was a great game. Russell Wilson stepping out, showing himself as a legit, maybe the leading MVP candidate. But how can you forget what LaMar Jackson is doing? Are those the two guys leading the charge? Is anybody else even close to the two of those guys?
I think those are the two, and if you want to give Dalvin Cook a little bit of love, he's been really good for the Vikings. But I'm gonna go Russell Wilson by a hair over LaMar Jackson. Russell Wilson, 23 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions, and he absolutely willed that win at San Francisco. And he's one of those guys who does more with less. We thought that he would probably take a step back, and the Seahawks as a team would take a step back. The Legion of Boom is no more, and he lost his favorite receiver, Doug Baldwin, to retirement. But what he's ended up doing is have the best year of his career, completing almost 70% of his passes, 2,700 yards passing. He's getting rushing yards. He's doing whatever the Seahawks need him to do to get wins. I think he's a phenomenal talent. He doesn't have a Pro Bowl receiver. DK Metcalf's a good young wideout, but he's not on the level of an Amari Cooper or a Julio Jones just yet. But he's getting it done, and the Seahawks are a dark horse contender to get to a Super Bowl. I don't really like their defense, but the only reason that we're even talking about the Seahawks, Jen, is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he's been spectacular. And, you know, in the same vein, I mean, I think that you can say a lot of very similar things about LaMar Jackson. He hasn't had quite the stats. I mean, I think Russell Wilson's a little over 2,700 yards, only 2 interceptions this year. I mean, just some unbelievable numbers. But Lamar over 2,000, 20-plus touchdowns, 5 interceptions, so nothing to sneeze at there. And you know, I think LaMar Jackson kind of has he may not be the best in this regard, but his wizardry, just the almost must-see TV aspect of the way he plays and the spin moves, and you know, they beat the Patriots, a great, always great Patriots defense. So to see him come through some of the teams that they've been able to beat, and he continues to evolve. Remember when that guy was, you know, people said, He needs to change positions. He's a wide receiver.
Bill Polian, who was the architect of those great Bills teams that went to the Super Bowl, and the Indianapolis Colts team that won a Super Bowl. He said they should move him to a receiver. And about 2 weeks ago, he apologized for saying that at the draft, because guess what? LaMar Jackson is a big-time quarterback, and hats off to John Harbaugh for finding Lamar's happy place, getting him to where he's most effective. Did you see them last week, Jen, line up LaMar Jackson, RG3, and Mark Ingram in the backfield at the same time? The first time ever 3 Heisman Trophy winners lined up in an NFL backfield. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You know, a guy that I do think right now you're probably looking at Wilson and Jackson as the 2 front runners, but you know, Deshaun Watson, it's going to be interesting to see what the Houston Texans do the rest of the year. He has really taken, you know, I think he's been great the last few years, but he's really taken a big step forward this year. Again, you know, unbelievable stats, 2,400 yards. Again, only 5 interceptions ago with 20-plus touchdowns. So, you know, I do think that he's a guy that bears keeping an eye on. You know, you want to keep both eyes on those first 2 guys in this MVP race, but don't forget Deshaun Watson. And Cedric, you know what you said last segment when we were talking about Colin Kaepernick, you know, as you talk about these RPO, the run-pass option quarterbacks, I mean, all 3 of these guys, just spectacular in that regard. Are we seeing? I mean, I don't think the NFL is going away from if the next Drew Brees or the next Tom Brady is out there, they're not turning away. But it sure seems like the NFL is way more comfortable with quarterbacks who have a different skill set than the statuesque, you know, pocket passer that we've seen for so many years. Seems like the NFL is okay with guys that have a different skill set, and if it is a different skill set, it may take him to unexpected heights, great heights even. That seems like a fairly significant change in the NFL.
Oh, it is. And if you're Vince Young, you're sitting there going, man, if I just come along 10 years later.
Yeah.
Because everybody's playing like VY used to play. And even RG3, who's a backup in Baltimore. Those guys, the RPO game is hot. It's the sexy thing now. They like guys that can get rid of the ball, that can be accurate and in short distances, occasional shots deep. And I think it's the new wave. But I will say this. There's still some very talented pocket type passers like a Patrick Mahomes,
sure,
who I think is this generation's Dan Marino, or even somebody like Baker Mayfield. So I think Baker is going to figure it out eventually. Mm-hmm. But Baker would prefer to be in the pocket, but he can get out and scramble as well. These old cats, the Phillip Rivers, the Big Bens, the Tom Bradys, Drew Brees, the guys of that ilk, they're on the way out, Jen. They can't play forever. Aaron Rodgers is 36 years old. They can't play forever. And when those guys are gone in the next 2 to 3 seasons, what you're going to see is like 90% of the NFL quarterbacks are going to be RPO guys. Sam Darnold's not an RPO guy. Daniel Jones is not an RPO guy. But I'm telling you, it's the wave of the future. Dwayne Haskins not an RPO guy. But most of these young quarterbacks coming into the game, they want a guy who can move and make things happen.
You say they aren't going to play forever. I'm not sure Tom Brady agrees with you. I think he's.
No, I know. I want to play to 45. Man, will you go home to your hot wife and let somebody else quarterback the Patriots? Good Lord.
He's not ready to do it yet. Not happening yet, but we'll see. Fun stuff. Great talk this week. We'll have lots more next week. Who knows? We may even talk about something other than football. But
doubtful.
Don't count on it. We'll see you next week. Hope you come join us again.